Noting the time and the presence of a quorum, I call this meeting Finance Committee to order. I would like saying it is 7:31 or 2 on the east. If anyone in the room has not voted yet, please now and go take care of it. It'll take you 6 or 7 minutes to the R.J. Gray Junior High School. We are prepared to move forward. The first item on the agenda, as always, is citizens' concerns. No one rushing to run to the microphone, we'll move on to the special town meeting rooms. And I had invited Jim Coleman, the CPC, to come and speak to us. Appreciate that he responded as they did and are willing to give us their recommendation. I didn't, given the short notice, I didn't discuss whether you wanted to present something first or if you wanted to the Finance Committee liaison who is responsible for the article speak first and then have you answer questions. Whatever suits you. Greg?
I do not have a presentation, so I can answer questions. Just say a few words first. It's up to you.
As the invited special guest, I yield to please say what you feel would be most for us to understand before we move forward, and then we'll hear from, then we'll deliberate amongst ourselves.
Right, so
this is to the special town meeting. There are 5 articles. The articles is dare I say the special town meeting, and so. Mr. Coleman, take the floor.
So first of all, are you all familiar with the property we're talking about? All right. Well, I can, as the current chair of the CPC, the question that Jason sent to me was, CPC feels it's the best use of our money. The CPC voted unanimously to spend this money. A couple of things we considered. The chairman of the Open Space Committee and she explained that large open space parcels are getting fewer and fewer. No surprise there, and getting more expensive. Not there either. So I think the one point is that the CPC felt this is it's a very good property. It's got good environmental and social benefits. I should say I also happen to be the Conservation Commission representative on the CPC, and the Conservation Committee unanimously to approve this purchase. Another consideration was that we are hoping to get a $500,000 grant from the state, and I think that's the reason for the special town meeting so quickly. The state needs that application in by the end of the year, and so those grants probably aren't given out all that, so we should be taking advantage of it. Let me there and entertain whatever questions you have.
Before we jump into questions, let Member Jarbo give the information that he found out. He knew that we were going to ask in advance. Let's let him weigh in. Proceed from there. Thank you.
Sure. The article is drafted in such that if the state grant money does not come and the gift that is expected does not come, then the total price is in the article. But we may end up paying less if those other 2 sources of revenue come in. So what we need to understand is CPA set aside about $1.2 million, and borrowing is about $1.8 million. And we're hoping to get a gift from the Conservation Trust of about $100,000. And the state program is called LAND, A-N-D, all caps. And their land would be for about $500,000. So again, the warrant article, I think, says the total price of 3.68 million, and that then presumes things go bump in the night and the other revenue sources through. But if they do, then Acton would end up paying, 3.1 plus, something like that. One of the questions I was asked to check on was, how are we that if we acquire this land, that it will be used for the purposes in the article? We actually have one possibly protections, one of which is the regulations that are in the article and purchase and sale agreement. But this is if the state comes in with its grant, the state also then has certain protections. And so, again, that's one of the reasons why I think we're moving quickly to make sure that we get that. But it would give us sort of our built-in suspenders. We would have protection, both the ones that are in the article and the in the state regulations. I know about this land. I'm familiar with it. I'm also the land nearby, which is owned by the, and in the late 70s, early 80s, when, believe it or not, there was a governor named Ed King. There were plans to expand MCI Concord down Route 2 on some of the state. And then State Senator Atkins drafted a bill that was enacted into law, even with King's signature, that put restrictions on state land, which abuts this. And again, we have a nice set of buffer zone that we not only have within this property, but even the property needs to be maintained for either agriculture, the soccer fields, et cetera, that are there now. So all that put together, I strongly recommend that we Article 1.
Thank you very much. I'll take questions from the rest of the committee before I make my final questions. Start on the end of the table. Gang, either for Mr. Jarbo or for Mr. Coleman.
Thank you. I just have a question about what does this, how does this impact the total budget in spending increase or borrowing increase? Does this compete with some other spending needs or that we have discussed in this conference?
So I'm going to take a first crack at that, and then let somebody else take it farther. While the bond for this will be a junction bond, the expectation is that it's going to be paid out of CPC. So, barring a major problem with CPC, the funding source for this, and again, somebody please step in and tell me if I'm wrong on this, should the CPC surcharge that goes onto our taxes. So they're going to impact the average single-family tax bill above what is already baked into. My understanding is that this is looks like we got 4 revenue sources for this. Is just straight up money from the open space from CPC. The second is a bonding that was expected to be paid out of future CPC funds, the $500,000 from a grant, and the fourth is $100,000 from Acton Conservation Trust. Address your question.
Thank you, that's clear.
The corollary question that I would love to ask, I'm going to jump, is how much money does the Acton Conservation have? Because I was not aware of that particular puddle. So that's outside of previous knowledge. Mr. Borden, Roland.
So Acton Conservation is basically it's a private organization. You can join the Acton Conservation Trust, they have the, and they're the ones who have it. It's not a town entity. So it's, and so what they do is they hold conservation restrictions. I used to be chair of CPC, by the way, so. So they hold a lot of conservation restrictions on these lands. When it's bought with CPA money, you have to have a conservation restriction on it. It has to, they're usually one of the monitoring authorities that will walk through and document.
Okay.
The other one is Sudbury Valley Trustees is another common one in that area. That property in particular, they did a project on it in the spring. Boy Scouts was involved, I was involved, and they cut a trail around the property. It's a good chunk of property. It butts up on a horseshoe drive. And again, as it said in the article, you know, it butts Bruce Trail. So it's a nice, really nice, and the weather station. So it's basically added to that whole comp land.
Okay.
They do protect. You could put a lot of houses on that land, and it's a nice, really nice wooded property. It does have some ham radio towers, which will be taken by the current owner and an old house and whatever. But I feel it's a great for what it is.
So we'll go out of turn. Allison's next, but Roland, if you have any questions, now's your time to ask any questions.
Good on it.
Very good. Allison, do you have any
Support it.
questions?
I was curious about whether there would be a restrictive covenant on the land that's addressed in Part 7.
Thank you.
I've answered my own question.
Steve? Scott?
I don't think I have any questions, because I think the only thing I was thinking of is, I felt like it was addressed last time, was there was a vehicle in a body of water, a small body of water, and that was determined to just let it sit there. Has there been any other to that interpret that was?
With my hearing aids, the acoustics in this room is a little hard trouble, so I apologize, but
Wait, can you hear me?
yes.
So brought to our attention that there's a vehicle in the bottom of a gutter, and that there are at least one or two radio towers remediated. And if I go so far as to add to your question, Scott, I hope I'm not putting words. How sure are we of the due diligence on this property that there's not going to be a problem such as the wet property or the dam on the River Street property? So the question is, how sure are we of the knowns at this time? We've got at least one submerged vehicle, potentially two towers. Is there anything else we need to worry? Did I get your question appropriate, Mr. Sullivan?
What I can say is that owner of the property or the representative of the owner did come before the Conservation Commission notice of intent for removal of that vehicle from the wet, and we agreed upon a method to remove it. So will be done. He said, although it's outside Conservation Commission's jurisdiction, that all of the time would be coming down. And beyond that, I'd have to leave it to I think the Board of Select further due diligence that were outside of the purview of the Conservation Commission. All is that the Board of Selectmen, when they came, both the the town manager, Conservation Commission, and then we had it also about it at the CPC. There were no other issues of attention, so I don't want to speak beyond I know.
Meanwhile, the town manager is anxiously behind to answer this question. I suspect he's going to back up exactly what you just said. I would also like to ask, though, is the tearing down of the tower our responsibility or the owner's responsibility? It's just as part part of the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, nice to see everybody. John Mangiarotti, the town manager. As part of the closing cost there, is going to be required to remove, there's not just one or two towers, several towers out there.
Interesting. Thank you.
That's what I understand. So they'll be required to remove the towers, to demo the house, and to whatever of a septic system is there, and make it just dirt. The cars will have to be dealt with as well, based on what the Conservation Commission ordered in its order. All those things are requirements that if they're not met, the property won't close. We won't close if they don't do those things.
Or if there are any other surprises.
And then, sorry?
Or if there are any other surprises.
Yeah, so, and the due diligence period is where we'd look for us, which is gonna continue through the winter. Do a survey, we'll do phase one environmental, all that you do when you're acquiring a big piece of property like that.
Anticipating closing in the spring?
Closer to, yeah, before June, or in time frame.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
No, thanks.
Greg, we'll come back to you because it's your article.
I move we approve.
No, we'll come back to you, article. Christie, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I wanted to actually correct something. The land immediately abutting it is actually town-owned land. We have a swap of use with the state with the School Street fields across the way. So the state owns School Street but leases it to the town. The town owns what is often cornfields that directly abut this land.
Okay,
I have no questions.
thank you. The last question I have is, do you anticipate putting in some kind of parking area or access to Moon Rail Trail because it is so stated to it?
That hasn't been discussed yet, so I can't say. I wouldn't be surprised, but judging by the required understanding from the seller, that to be pretty minimal. But I don't know what the select board may have thought about the concept. I believe, if it's still true, that the owner, the seller wants the Conservation Commission this property, which is a little bit unused. The conservation is the town, but it seems clear that the Conservation Commission will have jurisdiction, however you figure all the other parts out. And I don't think we would want to have parking there. You've got to have some access, but it does back up to the Bruce Freeman Trail, and there are apparently quite a number of trails already in the property and leading to the, so that might be a lot of the access. But the area where the house is now, no, or very few trees, might be a location to have a small parking, but I don't want to get ahead of myself or the commission or the town on saying anything.
That said, we have a select board member who looks like he's on this right now as well.
So, mission restriction will be negotiated for the next 6 months, and a lot of details here, but the expectation is that there'll be parking allowed to the conservation uses. So most uses would be passive trail uses, and we would allow to build parking to fit that use, not parking for something else. We couldn't put a train station park, for example, right? So it'd be parking that's accessory to the use out on the land. There also may be accessory uses for the bike trail. Again, that's really not negotiated yet. And for example, be a bike repair station. This as an example, but that I don't want. That's part of the negotiation for the conservation restriction. Parking is pretty. The rest of the things is part of the negotiation.
Great. And I have one last, looking at this, looking at these parcels, it looks quite a bit of waterways that run through it. It's close to the Ice Pond Dam. Looks like it's definitely a watered area. They made and I understand the assessment that the assessment is significantly less than the purchase prices because of the street area. I also understand from what the town manager, that the best use assessment price is significantly higher than the expected acquisition cost. Mine is when they did that maximum best possible usage assessment, what percentage of the land perk? What percentage of the land was not available to be built on? Do we?
This is just from, first of all, I don't think any perks are involved here. But there is an outline of the land of what could be built there, and it was a small subdivision. I probably have a picture of it. I could go back to my computer and draw of lots in it. It's something like 20 lots, just from memory. So a small subdivision, and it avoided the wetlands piece and things like that.
So that 20 lots, that information, that's the information that we need. I believe that you had asked what's at stake here from a person going to no longer be gaining $400,000. At the same time, we are going to be getting what could have been approximately 20 lot sizes. That was a conversation that was had prior. Does that answer your question along those lines?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Jarbo, we turn our.
I support Article 1 at the upcoming special town
Recommend. Recommend.
meeting.
You move that we recommend.
I move that we recommend. I support.
You can support, but you got to recommend.
Oh, then I move we recommend Article 1, which would authorize acquisition of property located at 19 and 35 Weatherby Street.
Second.
I heard Steve because his microphone was on. Any further discussion, or have all questions been asked and answered at this time? Oh, I see if Mr. Wellinghoff is online. He's not in check. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Very good. Thank you very much for coming tonight and answering our questions. Be a very smooth special town meeting. Appreciate it. Okay. On to the next two articles, if you're opening them as a pair, Mr. Noon, since you are one assigned to them. We have two collective bargaining agreements. What say you?
I have no information.
You have no information. Does that mean that you would prefer that we until town meeting?
I believe the special town meeting warrants that.
Very good. That one's quick. We're done with both of those. We'll defer 2 and 3.
I wasn't being presumptuous, but I put that in there just because I think there's nothing to discuss, so sorry about that.
Fine.
Okay. Article number 4, the town capital purchase, replacement of an ambulance. Roland, I know you were voluntold on this topic when here at the last meeting, but you and I did speak on over the. Do you have enough information this time? Wish to speak to this article?
I don't, but I'd like to ask the town manager a question.
John, looks like you're on the hot seat.
So it looks like this is going to be a lease arrangement, lease to purchase. So what are the benefits to the town of going the lease to purchase route, and what is the cost differential between outright purchasing the vehicle?
Thank you. Yeah, with that, and in an earlier version of the warrant, we put flexibility to try to do both. And we've since decided that lease is the most advantageous way to go. Some of the reasons, when we borrow for a project like this, there are borrowing costs associated with the bond issuance. We have to go through the ratings process that have a cost associated with them. Additionally, we'd have to borrow short a ban would create additional financial liability or necessary fund while we wait for the project to go out in a package. So there's extra costs there. More importantly, the 7-year, which we're proposing to do a lease to own, it really smooths out the over a period of time, which is more manageable, and builds into our ongoing apparatus replacement program. We currently lease to own the ambulance, most recent ambulance that we purchased, which I think was within the last 5 years. And so we want to continue doing that to replace all 3 we have over the next 10 years, for example. So we feel that's the most advantageous way to go. And in terms of cost differential, a lot of it depends on the interest rate that we would get, which we would hope would be good, but that's not known at this time. And we'd probably be, budgeting purposes, we'd probably budget the same 4.25 on the lease. So in that way, it's,
Okay. You purchased one or something like that at the last town meeting, be wrong. And the other one was, the question I had. Did we, I thought we authorized at last year's town meeting.
I think that was a fire truck.
Maybe it was the fire truck.
we did it in a 2 town meeting.
Okay, so how long does it take? Yep, passes town meeting, you go to order, how long does it take to get it at this point?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. The reason why we have it on the special town meeting warrant, it would normally just be at the annual, we'd wait 18 months, 16 months, maybe. We're now hearing that it's going to be more than 2 years, which is why to get a jump start on the process. The lease would not be paid until years from when we sign the contract. So we wouldn't have right away. We could pay it even in FY27 too. We're really just trying to get a jump start on getting this thing ordered so that we don't even longer, because the one that we're replacing, we're on a primary ambulance, and then a secondary ambulance, and then the third is a mechanical backup, and the backup is not reliable as a backup, so we need to replace the front line and move them all down.
What's the life expectancy of?
I mean, the one that we have right now was 15 purchased. The mechanical backup we're using right now is 2015, years ago. And it was probably in frontline service for the 5 years. I don't know,
I'm just
specifics, but yeah.
Any other questions of mine? I know we're going to get a Q1 update at the next meeting. That request just came in today, but our next listening meeting for our cost-cutting savings. So we're going to get of the different funds probably in 2 meetings from now. Is it your expectation that the ambulance center will be able to be the sole funding source for this life of the lease?
Yes, that's the
That is the
proposal.
expectation.
That's what we're going to do, and we've made some that program to help it be financially sustainable going forward.
And I can't remember, is Flint's Enterprise Fund one that is currently getting a subsidy from the, or is it self-sufficient at this time?
That's an interesting one to try to explain because we have 40-plus firefighter paramedics, and they all work ambulances. They all provide medical services. I think we pay for 9 of them out of the enterprise. So you could say that it's being subsidized the general fund, or you could say just the opposite, that it's subsidizing the general. Someday there may be an opportunity for us to fund fire and ambulance. Well, but that will happen.
Let's not count fire, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
but
just stick that.
it's not that easy to say that, yes, with a general fund subsidy, but it also does a lot to help pay for firefighters.
And move you're okay with what was said about making sure to identify what future uses planned for each of the different revolving and general and funds, correct?
Absolutely. We do 5 years in every budget process for the enterprise funds, and those discussed with, throughout the budget process, and we'll
And those will be
continue to do that.
shared with us?
Oh, yeah, we,
Okay.
I think we do, we typically, we
No,
have.
the last 3 years, we've asked for in the expected, what's in each of the funds, what are different quarter updates, and I would like to get that moving forward. I've spoken to you about it before, I'm sure where I'm coming from.
Yeah, we publish a financial report that has all the information in it every year, and we'll make sure you see that.
Very good, thank you. Roland, this is your article, do you have anything to say?
No, I think, motion that we recommend Article 4, Town Capital Purchase Replacement of an ambulance.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Okay, just for minute taking, do the associates, just want to make sure that I have the, okay,
The good news is so it's not a big deal, but yes, no, their vote does not count.
thank you.
The Veterans Tax Abatement Annual COLA Increase. I do not believe this was asked to us as something that was going to be on this. Did anyone else see this one come in, other than Roger? Would you care to speak to it, sir?
So, special town meetings don't happen too often, and it's planning for the annual town meeting. This is something that certainly could the annual town meeting, but the select board had set as its #1 goal this year to identify opportunities for tax relief. But we wanted to jump at this one that we it's the HERO Act, which was passed by within the last year that allows for this to happen. And this article would authorize an increase in the amount of exemptions that veterans get in their tax exemptions. Because, normally it's capped and it's capped a little bit. And because of timing, this wouldn't impact the current year bills, but we just wanted to get a jump and tell people that we're doing what we can. That's all. Thanks.
So even though it clearly could be implemented in the FY26, it earliest is FY, so it's not going to impact the fiscal year we're now. Very good. That's what I needed to hear.
I recommend we approve.
Move that we
I
end.
move that we recommend, I recommend that we approve.
No,
I
you
move we
move.
recommend Article 5, Veterans Tax Abatement Annual COLA in. Second.
Thank you, Greg, and all those all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Good, that's also unanimous for note-taking purposes. Good, we're moving through things night, which is important considering it is a national election. Okay.
Moving just closed to Massachusetts.
That's not why the town manager left so quickly. He's not going to make it on time. Okay. Of Massachusetts, let's not kid ourselves. Okay, my computer's not acting. So we're ready for the conversation of the listening sessions for.
Hi, everyone. Apparently, I did not move quickly enough for us to get that December date we had discussed for meeting at the senior center. So we are now looking January. And if the internet was working, I could tell you what dates. 1 second. Oh, okay. So we're looking at January, and dates on offer currently are January 7th, 21st, 28th. Woman who runs this said maybe towards the end of the month in order to give people who are a little distance from the holidays. I have no idea whether matters at all.
When is the money weekend?
1 second. Luther King weekend is on January 20th, is a Martin Luther King.
So I'd avoid the 21st.
Okay, so we're looking at the 7th, 8th. I would like the 28th if we can get enough people.
The 28th makes the most sense, because the 7th might still be too early.
Okay,
28th works.
wonderful. So we've got 3 of us. Anyone else? Greg? 4, we need 1 more. 6 o'clock on January 28th, your center to do a listening session. Steve, can you back him up if he can't make tentative? Okay.
What's the date again? January 20th?
Tuesday, January at 6 PM. We can reach out to,
I can do just gonna take a look at the calendar, see what days, what we can in the office.
Might have to twist the arm of Adam or
Yeah.
Dawn. But let's,
I will reserve that date.
can I ask where we stand for next, for the meeting? We were going to meet in 2 weeks.
Yes. I wanted to get this date
Sorry.
nailed down before
Very good.
submitting the news flash for that. We're scheduled for the 20th. And did you reserve the date at the library?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
won't
the
be back in time.
19th.
19th, yes, the
7 p.m.
19th. I reserved that date at the
I-
library.
I should be able to make the 28th.
Thank you.
It might be tight on time, but I'll do the best
Okay.
we can to get there on time.
And I'm sorry, before I move on to this, let me write down, we've got Jason, Scott, me, and Roland. We are not, this is our next meeting, which is our listening session at the library. So that will be the first one. And any of the associates are welcome. Also, it's just, unfortunately, you do not qualify for us meeting. I have some concerns that either people will, well, no one might come. Will come and have nothing to say because we haven't guided them, come and complain to us entirely about the schools and the size of that budget, which I think is much better served by them talking to the school committee for that. So I put some guiding questions, starting with asking them to please limit, if there's time at the end, they can, this budget relative to the overall town budget, which I think is sort of an issue to bring up, but that would be more of a long-term, do we want to be considering changing the split? That's what I'm expecting to get out of this. Me, any questions you have for guiding, but I come up with? First of all, does the amount of taxes determine how long you're likely to live in town? I hear that from a lot of people. It does. I'm wondering how widespread that is, or if it's just the people I'm talking to. It might just be the people who choose to come to this, but it'll at least give us sort of what people think about. Then, priorities do we think the town should be emphasizing? What are our, do we as a town stand for? And then sort of think of a large spending along those lines. Are there any easy cuts that people see? Not expecting a lot. Would you like the town to continue new sidewalks or services or things like that? I'm sorry, and then cut off. I don't know where I was going with that one. A different way, what services or purchases do you see happening that are not essential? Are there things that you would cut out? What would you be willing to personally, in services used in the town, to limit budget growth? I think budget growth is a problem. Projects that you think we should do, but not right away, things that we should be planning, but for whatever reason should not be spending on currently. And what should we be more in now to save money in the future? That's part of the idea we're hearing with the DPW is that it's cheaper for, yes, it's a big hit, but it's going to cost more if we may do people anything else in that. Anything anyone would like to add or any changes you would like to make to that? Or remove? Okay?
Thank you, Christy. Ask them what town services are they willing to give, willing to cut. Presumably, the major town services that will provide all of them understand. So are we able to maybe give a few items that that make spending items that the town focus on and just ask them about so they know
Yeah.
the items they're talking about.
Like that, and my one concern is that if you don't do an exhaust, it will be things that we're picking that are things that kind of drive us. I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify because I just remembered it. What should be in that, and I think what is off the end of the page is, use these services that you think should be cut. Is it, yeah, like that guy shouldn't get that thing that he needs. Yeah, I use this, and frankly, I could do without it. Kind of, so you think a list would be helpful?
I think a detailed list, some general categories would be helpful. And I think asking about whether they use those services, whether those services are essential, I think that's also helpful.
So you said you did not anticipate getting into discussions about the split, you know, or how would you?
Like to hold that until the very end, because I don't, for what we can get at here is the conversation with the select board, and while that is the budget, it's a part that we have more sway
Okay.
over, and I'd like to have us analyze it. So I'm happy to hear about that, and I think it was, but I'd like that to be the last thing we
Okay.
discuss it, because I can a whole big,
Sure.
I've talked to enough people around town who go off on that.
And I also think that we are prepared for the likelihood that people will come and talk about this. And I think we should, or you should, I don't know, be willing to provide that feedback to, if we get enough of it. Because I think people reasonably think that those concerns here. And they don't realize that the school is basically a single entity when it comes to budget.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Well, and we do, I think you're pointing out, we do have some say in that. I mean, through the ALG process and various things. I'm
Thank
just
you.
hoping to get a different environment range through this. Scott? Okay, you had your,
I'm just nodding in agreement.
Do you have the verbiage throughout for the blast so that we can, 'cause I didn't see it come across my email,
No.
which scares me.
no, it's me.
And do you know the logistics of getting that out the door?
Yes, I do.
That'll go out the door tomorrow?
Yes.
Excellent. Because I want as much warning as possible.
It's a balance of as much warning as possible, but not so far in advance about it.
Yep.
So I would like it to go out this week and then again closer, like maybe the day before or.
We're going to ride the fine line between informing them and spamming them. Excellent.
You will be happy to know that adopt the Goldilocks version of the blast.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Glad to hear it.
If that works for everyone, that's what I have.
I think anyone on the could feel free to email you with some
Yes,
leading
please.
questions between now and, please, for open meeting law consideration, just email them to Christie directly, if you're okay with them directly. So that we can add to that compendium so time comes we have questions to ask and not have awkward silence.
And please, if you think of any, like to any of these questions. you can-
If we have the answers already.
Oh, good. I'm saying this is a chance for us to stand up and share our opinions also.
Indeed, indeed. Okay. Is that everything that you'd say on this
That's it,
topic?
all of it from
Okay, looking ahead at the Finance Committee business, we realize that while I have read the 2 draft minutes that we've received, I don't think I ever forwarded them to the committee. Nope, I didn't forward them to the committee. I'm looking at Outbox, and I did not forward them, so we're going to have to take a pass on that. The good news is we will not be late. Review 3 sets at our next. I will be sending out the sets immediately, so that if I neglect or send out the 3rd set, we can still be in compliance with OML. Next, we have on reports. Who would like to go for these on reports? stepping forward. So I did most of the, or half of the meeting last night. This is not, this is have this conversation because I'm pretty sure we all want to go home and election results. We did get a DPW number of 46.9 hours last night. We also did receive the schematics from the town manager, and we did receive, as of today, just 3 hours before this meeting, we did receive another round of answers from Sampson & Weston with regards to, yes, a couple of weeks ago. Honestly, I did not even have a chance to open between 3 o'clock and tonight, so we're not going to go down tonight, but it was, the number that was declared was 46.9, and I'm sure I'm going to have a much deeper dive on this conversation in the near future. Meeting, we will obviously be focused 90% on the listing session. I'm going to ask us at the end of the next meeting to a quick ALG guidance session. That's our last meeting before the next ALG meeting. Our next meeting will be at the library. It will not be at Town Hall. That's unusual, and I guarantee at least one of us, hope me, will be the person who shows up at the Town Hall at the night of that meeting. Are there any other leaders at this time? Well, we have Selectman Martin approaching the microphone. Sir, the floor is yours.
Just a reminder to follow up on your other thing, the DPW Building Committee is meeting Thursday night, lock this room, and they'll more information on those numbers.
Thank you for that reminder. Is anybody planning on coming on Thursday night? Do I have a quorum? Not that I could post that quickly anyway. You're planning on showing up?
I might come.
2. Let's count on Adams. That's still his liaison. 3.
If Adam comes out.
You should, but we should keep the placeholder for Adam just in case. If people wish to show up, please let me know so that we can avoid OML issues. Okay. Again, next meeting, 19th at 7:30 at the library.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I left this on. The library closes at 8.
We are allowed to stay as long because I have to show up before 5 o'clock on how to lock up the library, so just so as that I'm not in trouble. I'm taking on, risk that I may not be totally comfortable with, but that's fine, it happened.
Thank you.
Okay.
Assume there is the meeting room on the first floor of the library.
Yes, the first road, so if you walk in the library, if absolute hard left, you'll go into the children's section. If you go a week left, you'll get into the meeting room.
I'm very familiar with that.
Very good.
All right, so things, I move to adjourn.
This is not debatable. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.